Welcome everyone to EXP Plus, your conference expanded. Are you considering attending AIHce for the first time? This conference at a glance can seem a little intimidating. Joining me today are three now experienced AIHce attendees who can help ease you into your first conference with AIHA. Tim Paz, Subena Colligan, and Felix Boachie. Welcome everyone. So I'm going to throw on the table this question here. Please share with us what your first AIHce experience was like.
Well, I'll start off. My first AIHce experience was a whirlwind. It was really a representation of how important it is to be involved in AIHA and what AIHA can do for its membership. So that was important to me. I definitely got a ton of value my first year and met a lot of really incredible people, and have kept in touch with a lot of people. I also had a pal, and me and my pals still talk occasionally. So it was fun to have a person to go to certain sessions with and just kind of digest all of it, because the conference center was pretty large. But our first conference was awesome. I won't miss an in-person conference since.
Now, you have to admit, Subena, yours was a little different than everybody else because you actually opened the conference on the main stage.
I did. And like I said, it was, again, just a representation of what AIHA does for its membership. So it wasn't just getting up there, it was AIHA, including me, and the representation of a Black woman in industrial hygiene in the I Am IH series, which was already an honor, but to be presented in that way as well and create space for others. And that helped with some of that connection that I made with people, and those connections that I've kept since the conference.
Well, my first conference was in Anaheim way back in the mid-90s, and it was overwhelming. I mean, just the stimuli of, trying to learn as much as you can. You're meeting new people, you're seeing other people that you know from the field that you've met. But I actually attended the conference in Anaheim to sit for the CIH exam, and the airline lost my luggage, so I'm just wearing the clothes that I had on my back to take the exam. And in retrospect, if you can overcome that and pass the exam, then you can pretty much overcome anything. So that's the most memorable thing that happened to me. But, it was just like I said, just a lot of stimuli that, just overwhelming in terms of the amount of information that you're trying to soak in. But, it's like Subena said, it's just an amazing event. There's so much to take in. You're doing networking. So that's really critically important, even especially if you're new in the field. It really pays dividends, like Subena mentioned, that she's still networking with some of the people that she met at her first conference. So, but, it's also important to kind of take time to slow down, and I don't, even now as a seasoned conference attendee, I have to remember that, your brain needs that downtime. So it pays to just go find a quiet corner to just sit, you look out the window or go for a walk. That brain needs that downtime to kind of just reset and refocus. So that's some of my memories from my first conference.
So Felix, I'm wondering if that wisdom drop of making sure you take time to decompress and to pace yourself, is that something that you didn't know when you first went that you would have appreciated knowing, or is that something that
I definitely would have appreciated knowing the knowledge of really pacing myself at my first conference. So my first conference was in the early 2010s. It was in Portland, Oregon, which was an awesome conference, and it was a great way to get out on the West Coast as well for me as a person that grew up on the East Coast. But I think that conference for me, I'd say in one word, was transformational. And the other piece of information that I was told in terms of prepping myself for a conference was to define my reason for being there. And really what they said was define your why, right? What do you hope to gain? And at that time, I was still a student. So like a lot of people come to conference for the first time in different places in their life. And as a student, I knew that I wanted to make a career change and I wanted to go from one industry to the other. So for me, I was trying to find individuals that worked in that industry, attend sessions that talked about issues in that industry, and really immerse myself to be able to put myself in the best position to get a job in that industry, which was what my goal was. And at that conference in Portland was where I met two key important individuals that ultimately led to me getting my first job in that industry. So for me, it was truly transformational.
Wow, that's great. I love that tip, to know your why as to why you're actually going. Do you guys have any other tips that you might want to drop for someone attending for the first time or coming in after a while not being able to be there?
Yeah, so I would say something that I didn't know happened was that some of the sponsors of the conference have sponsored events outside. And a lot of times they're companies that our businesses are already doing business with. And those are really fun networking events. So just asking, if there's one of those sponsors doing a sponsored event for AIHs. So I got to go to a museum and have beers with people. And so it was really fun. Like, we talk about, because we all need it, like to the time to recharge, but then the time to not be overly stimulated by the networking and information and just being able to have fun with our colleagues. And I feel like that really helped build connection for me too, because it was like, we sat on the bus together, we did this, we had these cool pictures together, and it was outside of just professional and being acknowledged as a person.
Yeah, one thing that I learned over the years attending all the conferences was to kind of prepare for the conference. Felix already talked about the why. That's critically important. Your priority might be to find a new job or to do networking, or I want to learn more about emerging threats in the industrial hygiene field. But really take time to look at the conference program in advance and highlight those types of sessions you want to attend. That's important, but also have a plan B. Unfortunately, sometimes rooms get overcrowded and they're standing room only, and then you're kind of scrambling to find another session, and it's like, blindly just, picking another session. But if you have a plan B in advance, you know where to go to if the unfortunate happens and they're turning people away. It's rare that it happens, but it can happen. So it does pay dividends to have kind of a backup plan. Or if you have a coworker that's attending, you can kind of divide and conquer, what sessions will get you the most bang for the buck for your company, their or organization. They're paying you to attend. So I try to keep that in mind, that, I want to, bring back something to my group that will, align with the mission and shore up our industrial hygiene programs. So that's another key thing that I try to remember even now.
Well, I want to thank the three of you for sitting down and chatting today. I know that those who are attending and watching this are going to appreciate those tips. I think they're all really great. They're great pieces of advice and information. If you see them at conference, don't hesitate to go up, bump elbows, fist bumps, exchange business cards, and increase your network. So thanks a lot, guys, and I will definitely see you in Nashville. You've been watching EXP Plus, your conference content expanded.